A sobering statistic from Johns Hopkins research reveals a hidden connection that most are unaware of. For every 10-decibel drop in hearing ability, the risk of developing dementia can increase by more than 20%. This is not a scare tactic. It is a biological alarm bell. The gradual quieting of your world is not a passive consequence of aging. It is an active threat to your cognitive future. But this is not an inevitability. It is a signal to adapt. And today, we will provide the scientific protocol to fortify your hearing and, in turn, defend your mind. Age-related hearing loss, known clinically as presbycusis, affects 1 in 3 adults over the age of 65. Yet, it is profoundly misunderstood. It is not merely a decrease in volume, as if someone is slowly turning down a dial on the world. It is a loss of clarity, a loss of fidelity. The world does not just get quieter, it gets muddier. Conversations in a crowded restaurant become a frustrating soup of noise. The high-pitched voices of grandchildren begin to fade at the edges. This is the first sign that the intricate machinery within the ear is beginning to falter. Deep inside the inner ear, within a spiral-shaped cavity called the cochlea, reside thousands of microscopic hair cells. These are not hairs in the conventional sense. They are delicate, exquisitely sensitive stereocilia that bend and sway in response to sound vibrations, translating the physical energy of sound into electrochemical signals the brain can understand. They are the primary conductors of your auditory world. They do not regenerate. From the moment of birth, the number of these cells is finite. Throughout life, they are assaulted by loud noises, certain medications, and the relentless march of time. The primary drivers of their decline after the age of 60 are not a single rock concert from decades past, but 2 insidious, ongoing processes: oxidative stress and compromised microcirculation. Free radicals, the unstable molecules born from normal metabolic processes, bombard these delicate cells, causing cumulative damage. Simultaneously, the tiny blood vessels that supply them with oxygen and vital nutrients can become less efficient. This degradation of articular cartilage is a biological reality for most individuals over 60. This is not a life sentence. It is a signal to adapt. But the most significant threat to these cells isn't a factory floor you worked on in 1982. It's happening inside your own body, at this very moment. In a few minutes, we will reveal the 3 hidden dietary saboteurs that are actively accelerating this auditory decline. But first, it is critical to understand why protecting these cells is a non-negotiable strategy for brain preservation. The link between hearing loss and dementia is not coincidental. It is causal, operating on 3 distinct fronts. The first is cognitive load. When the sound signals reaching the brain are weak or distorted, the brain must work significantly harder to decode the message. It diverts immense neurological resources away from other critical tasks like memory formation and executive function to simply figure out what is being said. Over years, this constant state of cognitive overload can exhaust the brain's reserves, accelerating decline. The second front is brain structure itself. When the auditory cortex, the part of the brain that processes sound, receives less stimulation due to hearing loss, it begins to atrophy. It shrinks. Brain imaging studies clearly show that individuals with hearing impairment have a faster rate of brain tissue loss compared to their peers with normal hearing. The brain, in its efficiency, begins to repurpose this underused neural real estate. But this rewiring can disrupt the larger networks essential for healthy cognition. The third, and perhaps most tragic front, is social isolation. The sheer effort of trying to follow a conversation can be so draining that individuals begin to withdraw. They may decline dinner invitations, avoid family gatherings, and retreat from the social connections that are proven to be one of the most powerful buffers against cognitive decline. This retreat into silence creates a vicious cycle. Isolation worsens cognitive function, which in turn makes it even harder to engage. The world goes quiet, both literally and figuratively. The evidence is undeniable. Protecting your ears is a direct strategy for protecting your mind. So how do we build the fortress? It starts not in the ear canal, but on your plate. We promise to reveal the saboteurs, but what about the protectors? Stay with us as we unveil the one specific antioxidant that has been shown to be a Shaka bodyguard for your inner ear hair cells. This isn't generic advice. This is targeted biological defense. The foundation of the Auditory Fortress Protocol is built on combating oxidative stress and promoting robust microcirculation. The delicate hair cells and their supporting structures require a steady supply of specific micronutrients to defend against damage and maintain the unique fluid balance within the inner ear. The first of these is magnesium. This essential mineral acts as a powerful protector for the hair cells, particularly against damage from loud noise. but its primary benefit for age-related decline is its role in vascular health. Magnesium helps relax blood vessels, improving blood flow throughout the body, including to the nutrient-hungry cochlea. Studies have demonstrated that a diet rich in magnesium is correlated with better hearing preservation. This is a simple, powerful intervention. Excellent sources include spinach, Swiss chard, almonds, cashews, avocados, and even dark chocolate with a cacao content of 70% or higher. The goal is not supplementation without purpose, but a conscious dietary shift. Next is potassium. The inner ear is filled with a fluid called endolymph, which plays a crucial role in converting sound waves into nerve impulses. The concentration of potassium in this fluid is critical for this process to occur. As we age, the natural levels of potassium in our bodies can decline, potentially disrupting this delicate fluid balance and contributing to presbycusis. While severe deficiency is rare, ensuring an adequate intake is a strategic move. Foods like bananas, potatoes with the skin on, spinach, lima beans, and apricots are all excellent sources of this vital mineral. Now, for the cellular bodyguard we mentioned. While general antioxidants like vitamin C and E are beneficial, one compound stands out for its specific protective effects on the inner ear: N-acetylcysteine, or NAC. NAC is a precursor to glutathione, arguably the body's most powerful antioxidant. Glutathione directly neutralizes the free radicals that wreak havoc on the stereocilia. Research has shown that maintaining high levels of glutathione can create a powerful shield against the oxidative stress that drives age-related hearing decline. While NAC is more commonly taken as a supplement, you can support your body's natural glutathione production by consuming sulfur-rich foods like onions, garlic, and cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli and kale. Fortifying your body from the inside is the foundational step. But what if we told you there's a specific type of physical exercise, not just any cardio, but a precise method that can dramatically increase the crucial blood flow to the cochlea? This simple adjustment to your daily walk could be a game changer. We'll detail that technique right after we discuss the surprising role of this common vitamin in preventing the world from going quiet. The B vitamins, specifically B12 and folate, are also critical players in this defensive strategy. A deficiency in these vitamins has been strongly linked to an increased risk of presbycusis. Their primary role here relates to an amino acid in the blood called homocysteine. High levels of homocysteine can damage the lining of arteries and veins, impairing circulation throughout the body. The tiny, delicate vessels that feed the inner ear are especially vulnerable to this type of damage. B12 and folate are essential for metabolizing homocysteine, keeping it at safe levels, and thus protecting your entire vascular system, including the crucial microvessels of the ear. This underscores a central theme: hearing health is not isolated. It is a direct reflection of your overall cardiovascular health. High blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, and poor blood sugar control all inflict damage on the vascular network that sustains your auditory system. Managing these conditions is not just for your heart, it is for your hearing, and, by extension, for your cognitive longevity. This brings us to the active component of the protocol: movement. Generic advice to get more exercise is not enough. To specifically target the microcirculation of the inner ear, the strategy must focus on promoting the production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas produced by the lining of your blood vessels that signals them to relax and widen, dramatically increasing blood flow. The most effective, accessible way to stimulate this is not with a grueling, high-impact workout, but with a specific form of interval walking. It involves alternating your pace in a structured way to challenge your cardiovascular system more effectively than a steady stroll. The technique is simple to implement. After a 5-minute warm-up at a comfortable pace, you begin the first interval. For 3 minutes, you push the pace to what feels like a 7 out of 10 in terms of effort. You should be able to talk, but only in short, clipped sentences. This is the push phase. Following this, you immediately slow down to a very gentle recovery pace, a 3 out of 10, for the next 3 minutes. The key is the rapid shift between these two states. This cycle of pushing and recovering is what powerfully stimulates nitric oxide production far more than steady-state cardio, forcing those tiny cochlear blood vessels to open up and receive a surge of oxygen and nutrients. You perform this push and recover cycle for 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. It's not about exhaustion. It's about smart stimulation. A fortress isn't built with brute force, but with strategic engineering. So you're eating the right foods, flooding your system with protective nutrients. You're performing targeted exercise to drive that nourishing blood flow directly to the source. The walls of your auditory fortress are being built, stone by stone. But what if I told you the most devastating siege doesn't come from the outside? What if the most insidious enemy is one you willingly let through the gates every single day, disguised as a friend? Think about this. What's the first thing millions of people reach for when they have a headache? A sore back? A bit of arthritis pain? That small, unassuming pill. An over-the-counter pain reliever. And right there, inside that bottle, lies one of the most prolific, yet unpublicized, destroyers of hearing in the modern world. We're talking about a class of drugs known as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSAIDs. And their frequent use is like stationing a saboteur inside your own inner ear. How is this possible? How can something designed to relieve pain cause such profound, permanent damage? The mechanism is tragically direct. First, these drugs can reduce blood flow to the cochlea. Remember those delicate microvessels we've been working so hard to open up? High or frequent doses of some NSAIDs can have the opposite effect, constricting them and starving the hair cells of the oxygen and nutrients they desperately need to survive. It's a chemical tourniquet on your hearing, but it gets worse. It's not just about blood flow. Some of these compounds are directly ototoxic. That means they are poisonous to the cells of the ear. They can accelerate the production of those destructive free radicals we discussed, overwhelming the hair cells, natural defenses, and triggering apoptosis, the biological process of programmed cell death. Each time you take that pill for a minor ache, you could be sentencing a small colony of your irreplaceable hair cells to death. A study from Brigham and Women's Hospital found that men who used NSAIDs 2 or more times per week were significantly more likely to have hearing loss. This isn't a fringe theory. It's a documented biological reality hidden in plain sight. And NSAIDs are just the beginning of this hidden epidemic. There are over 200 known ototoxic medications on the market, many of them incredibly common. Certain potent antibiotics, specific diuretics used for blood pressure, even some cancer treatments. They are all necessary, life-saving drugs in the right context. But the silent, cumulative cost to our hearing is almost never part of the conversation with our doctors. This is the rehook. This is the piece of the puzzle that changes everything. Building the fortress isn't enough if you're unknowingly poisoning the soldiers inside. But this revelation, as bleak as it seems, opens the door to the most profound part of this protocol. It forces us to ask a deeper question. If the physical hardware, the hair cells, can be so easily damaged, is the battle already lost for many? The answer is an emphatic no. Because your hearing doesn't just happen in your ear, it happens in your brain. This brings us to the fourth pillar of the auditory fortress: neural recalibration. Even with some degree of hair cell damage, your brain possesses an astonishing ability to adapt. It's called neuroplasticity. Your brain can learn to do more with less. It can be trained to better decode and interpret the weaker, distorted signals it might be receiving from a damaged cochlea. This isn't about regenerating the cells themselves. It's about upgrading the software that runs them. How do we trigger this? Through a process of active, focused listening, not just passive hearing. Most of us live in a constant bath of sound, but we rarely truly listen. The neural recalibration technique involves what we call sound stacking. For just 10 minutes a day, you find a quiet place, close your eyes, and simply listen. First, you identify the most obvious sound. Let's say it's the hum of your refrigerator. Focus on it. Isolate it in your mind. Hold it for 30 seconds. Then, while still holding on to that first sound, reach out with your hearing for the next quietest sound. Perhaps it's the faint chirping of a bird outside your window. Now, you hold both sounds in your awareness simultaneously, the hum and the chirp. This is the stack. After another 30 seconds, you reach for the next, even quieter sound, the soft whir of your computer fan, the distant rumble of traffic. You are forcing your brain to actively seek out and differentiate between multiple layers of sound, from the obvious to the barely perceptible. This simple act is a powerful workout for your auditory cortex, strengthening the neural pathways responsible for processing sound. It teaches your brain to become a master interpreter, to find clarity and meaning even in a diminished signal. But this rewiring of the brain uncovers something profound, a hidden connection between your hearing and your emotional state. Why is it that people with hearing loss often feel a sense of detachment, of profound loneliness, that goes far beyond simply not hearing words? The answer isn't psychological, it's neurological, and it reveals the final, most crucial pillar of the auditory fortress. The answer lies buried deep in our evolutionary wiring. It's the fifth and final pillar: emotional resonance. Your auditory system isn't just a microphone, it's a direct line to the most primitive parts of your brain, specifically the amygdala. your brain's alarm system. It is constantly monitoring the soundscape for signs of safety or danger. When your hearing is healthy, your brain is bathed in a constant, rich stream of ambient sound. The gentle rustle of leaves, the distant hum of life, the subtle texture of a loved one's breath. These are signals of safety. They tell your amygdala, all is well. You are part of a living, breathing world. But when hearing loss begins, it doesn't just steal words. It steals the silence fillers. It creates a void. Your brain, receiving this sudden, unnaturally quiet, interprets it as a threat. It's the silence of a predator stalking nearby. This puts your nervous system on a constant, low-grade alert, leading to anxiety, stress, and that profound, unshakable feeling of being cut off from the world. The fortress is not just for hearing. It's for feeling safe and connected. And you reinforce it by actively seeking out positive, life-affirming sound. This is the beautiful synergy of the entire protocol. You build the foundation with blood flow and nutrition. You guard the gates by avoiding ototoxic poisons. You upgrade the central command with neural recalibration. And finally, you fill the fortress with the soul of its purpose, emotional resonance. You consciously choose to immerse yourself in the sounds that make you feel alive. Your hearing is not a fragile, decaying sense destined to fail. It is a dynamic, resilient system that connects your mind to the world and your heart to others. It is a vital part of your health that you can actively protect, nurture, and even reclaim. The power to rebuild is not in some future miracle cure. It has been inside you all along, in your blood, in your habits, in your brain, and in your choices. The symphony of life is playing all around you, right now. You don't have to let the volume fade. You can learn to be your own conductor, to tune your own instrument, and to hear the music more clearly than ever before. This is not just how to hear better. This is how to live better. If you're ready to stop being a passive victim of hearing loss and start becoming the active architect of your own auditory health, your journey begins with a single click. Subscribe to How to Be Healthy and join a community dedicated to reclaiming the vibrant, connected life you deserve. Let's build your fortress together.